I'm going to do a couple problems like those in that very beginning box on page 68, just kind of some warm-up conversions for those of you that it's kind of been a while, so that you can convert between fractions and decimals and percents. All right, so we're going to start with the percent. If you have something like 35%, the word percent means out of 100, cent as in century, the basis of which is 100. So that's how you convert all percents to fractions, is that you just write what it means. 35% means 35 out of 100. And then you're going to want to reduce. So reducing fractions always involves dividing out anything that's in common in the top and the bottom. Your goal is usually to find the largest thing so that you only have to do the division once. But if you're taking a long time finding a really big number that goes into both, you can just divide what you see. Like first glance on this one, I know I can divide them both by 5, so that might be where I start. And you have to divide the top and bottom by the same number. So 35 divided by 5 is 7, 100 divided by 5 is 20. And then when I look at 7 and 20, there is nothing that divides into both of them. So that's reduced form for that one. That's what reducing fractions is all about. Now if you started off with a fraction, let's say you started off with 5/8, and you have to convert that to a percent. Well, you would always go to a decimal first. 5/8, fractions are division problems basically, and it's the numerator, the top number, divided by the denominator, the bottom number. So you would do 5 divided by 8 in your calculator. So that gives you 0.625. So that's what it is in decimal form, 0.625. And now to convert that to a percent. When you go from decimals to a percent, essentially what you're doing is, because percents are out of 100, you're multiplying that decimal by 100. The shortcut is that when you are multiplying by 100, you move that decimal point 2 places. So right now it's in front of the 6. To convert this to a percent, we move it 1, 2 places, and it will then rest between the 2 and the 5. So that would make it 62.5%. Move decimal 2 places always when converting between decimals and percents. All right? And it's always 2, and that goes for whether you start with a percent or whether you start with a decimal. So if I have the decimal 1.29, and I want to convert that to a percent, again, the rule says move the decimal 2 places. So right now the decimal is between the 1 and the 2. If I want to convert it to a percent, I move the decimal 1 2 places. It will then come to rest at the end of the 9, and that's 129%. So that's that. If you start with a percent, trying to get some more interesting colors here. If you start with a percent, like 7%, sometimes people get tricky in single-digit percents. If you start with a percent and you have to get back to a decimal, you're still moving it 2 places, only now you're going to move it in the other direction. So right now with my number 7, just like it is if I said $7, that means the decimal is sitting right there to the right of the 7. If I want to convert back to decimal point from a percent, I have to move it 2 places, but now go the opposite way. And that would come to rest right there. If you have a gap like I do, you fill it in with a 0. So 7% is the decimal 0.07. It's easier when your percents are 2 digits. 23%, you write the number 23, put a decimal at the end, move it 2 places, and that gives you 0.23. All right, so converting between decimals and percents, it's always about moving the decimal point 2 places. Okay, and you move it to the right when you're going from decimal to percent, because you're multiplying by 100 at that point. And you move it to the left when you're going from percent to decimal. Okay, and then again about fractions, if you're going from percent all the way to fractions, start off by making your fraction out of 100 and then reduce. Again, find numbers that go into both of them, and then you just have to divide the top and bottom by the same number.